It is 5:06 Friday afternoon, minus 26 in Regina, Saskatchewan. It feels like minus 34 with the wind chill. Here is our favorite Austrian band, Opus, on the Eagle 94. Just kidding. Jon Keen joining us. Let's slide him in. We used to work together in Swift Current. I still got it. But there was this weird music that we played back then, John, right? Like
Thompson Twins, I believe it was.
Thompson Twins was like on the top 6 at 6, and it was 2002. It's like, what is going on here? Yeah, thanks so much for joining Munzie and I here on the program today. We'll get right to it. Before we get into the Western Hockey League and what's going to be happening there trade deadline wise, you watched Canada lose yesterday to Czechia. Yeah. What goes through your mind?
Well, I saw a really funny tweet after the game, and it said, Dave Cameron should not be allowed on another Canadian bench. Not a park bench, not a work bench, no bench. And I thought that was a good one. But, obviously what could go wrong did go wrong there. And I will point the finger at discipline. They just never got a handle on, how the game was going to be called at the international level. And I heard you guys talking about it too. And I think they made a really good point. Talking about, the final 10 minutes, like, let's not blow anybody up here. Like, we know what's on the line. We don't have to go out there and, really ramp things up physically. And I thought, with 2:27 to go, you don't need to make that hit probably. And I thought it was a fitting end, unfortunately, that, the winning goal scored on the power play with less than a minute to go. So disappointing. I know you guys have talked about it a lot today, a bit of a dead horse, but it's tough. It's tough to see. I thought the OHL players really struggled, and, I'm a WHL guy, but the OHLers just couldn't get out of their own way, and they had a really rough tournament.
There's so much criticism on not taking Cristal from the Kelowna Rockets. And it's easy to go back and play this like a video game and hit reset like it's Blades of Steel, and we go at it again, but we can't. But where would you have seen him on this team, John, with your eyeballs seeing him so often?
Well, he would have been, the power play guy, and he scores on every breakaway, on every shootout. He has this little move. He kicks up the toe and goes backhand shelf every single time. He would have ended that shootout against Latvia real quick. Now, I'll see him here in about 2 hours. The Rockets are in town against the Blazers here tonight. He's been a bit of a slumber here lately. But he would have been first and foremost. But, Al Murray, head scout, talked about it in his debriefing today. They didn't want one-dimensional players. They wanted two-way guys that played hard in both ends of the rink. And maybe Andrew Crystal doesn't fit that bill. I still think he's probably the most offensively dynamic player in the league.
Well, and the interesting thing, and maybe a bit of background on Andrew Crystal, a Vancouver area guy, he's grown up. He spent his entire life with Zach Benson, who's playing in Buffalo now, and Connor Bedard in Chicago, obviously, Pat Legend. And like those three are thicker than thieves, right? So, John, you can talk about this. The idea of watching two of your best friends have an opportunity to play on the biggest stage, and all of a sudden you don't even make Canada's team right now. Like, this just doesn't add up to me. And again, we could pick an entire roster of players that could represent Canada from ones that didn't on any given year. Barney and I were joking about this right when we came on the air at 3 today. You could pick a Western Hockey League team that could compete for Canada at the World Junior Hockey Championships. But, it's hard to try and fit all these pieces into the puzzle.
It is, and Colby Armstrong, I think he tweeted that last night too, is a great tweet, like, just bring the Western Leaguers, just play the WHLers. But let's not forget that Czechia had just as many WHL players last night as Canada did. And these are big body Czechs too. Like, these guys have come over here, they're NHL drafted. Adam Yeko's a load. Jakob Stansel is a load. Like, these guys, and I know, Barney, you've referenced in here about, no one's really scared of Canada anymore. But I will say this, and AJ Jackie Beck, I think everybody knows AJ. He used to call games in the Western League. He was calling the radio games on the Canadian broadcast. Yeah. And he said there were 45 first-round NHL picks eligible for this tournament. 45. Canada has 28 of those 45. The other 17 divided amongst the other nations. We're still doing pretty good. This is still a real talented base of players to choose from. Unfortunately, you add up the discipline, you add up a lack of goal scoring, and a couple of rough outings, and you're out in the quarterfinals.
Okay, let's shift to the Western Hockey League. There's a trade today, kind of. The Pats send 20-year-old Ty Spencer. They find him a place to finish out his junior career in the WHL, going to Wenatchee for a 7th-round pick. You know what it's like, Keener. 7th-round picks, sometimes teams use them. Sometimes they're like, no, we're going to stay with our listed guys. So that's nice for him. Man, talk about an arms race out there in BC and the U.S. division. Put that into context for people here on what's going on there. Like, wow, who's got anything left to go after Molendyk? Like, you would know more than anybody. Is it Prince George, Spokane, Tri-Cities? Like, who's going after him?
Well, right now, guys, the real arms race is the Central. The Central is nuts, and they're not done yet. Calgary just went out and got Daniel Hauser, who I think Munzie knows quite well.
Absolutely.
These guys, Medicine Hat's not done. Calgary, Edmonton may jump into the mix and land one of these big fish defensemen as well. And we haven't talked about Lethbridge, the Braden Yager deal, and they're not done. But the asking price, it's funny this year. We're getting back to maybe more of a buyer's market than we've had in previous years. And some of the asking prices for these top players, Molendyk, Andrew Crystal is available. Sawyer Mineo, who we saw play for Team Canada, Caden Price. They're not commanding 2 first-round picks right now. That's the ask, 2. And in fact, Colin Priestner was asking for 3 for Molendyk. Teams aren't willing to do that right now. There's a changing landscape. Draft picks, I think, are going to become more valuable here with what's going on. Who has the ammo to do it? Edmonton has the ammo to do it. Tri-City has the ammo to do it. We're still waiting on the Prince George Cougars to Mark Lamb to, finish a deal as well. He has a team in front of him here. He's got a 2-year window. This is year 2 of it. They didn't make the big splash last year. I'd expect the Prince George Cougars to be in the Molendyk sweepstakes. He is from McBride, BC, just down the road.
Let me ask both of you guys this. How much of a surprise is it? And you look at where they sit right now in the entire Eastern Conference. Saskatoon is the number 1 team in the East. Conference-wise, they're tied with Medicine Hat right now for first place. We know last year was kind of their year to make the big run for it. Didn't do it. Still no banners hanging in Saskatchewan Place or Credit Union Center, whatever they call it now. But they're getting rid of their franchise right now to continue to try and keep themselves in it for the next half decade or so. But they're still the number 1 team in the division.
Yeah, and we've seen this has become the trend. Like, look at Wenatchee, your former franchise, right? You got out just at a good time down there because they've gone full rebuild when they moved out, Matt Savoy and Connor Geekie. And even yesterday, they did more moves, Kenta Isagai and Daniel Hauser. But it's just becoming the trend. You have to put all your resources into winning 1 year right now. And it's not healthy for junior hockey, and general managers will lament the fact that this is how you have to win a league title these days. But Saskatoon, without the draft picks that they acquired from Brandon Lazowski yesterday, they wouldn't have picked until the 4th round in this draft and the 8th round next year in 26. You have to recoup the cupboards. Otherwise, it's a long slug. We're seeing a lot of that right now. It's unfortunate, but that's just the lay of the land in junior hockey right now.
It happened to I can't remember the year, but people talk about it here. The Pats kind of went through this as well the one year that they were first and then they started selling. And everyone was like, what are we doing? What are you doing? What are we doing? And it's like, you got to know junior hockey. And that's the thing about up in Saskatoon, and a guy that, Lanigan's not very far away, Keener, but a guy that's grown up in Saskatoon, and people are going to lose their mind. And they already are, because they're fans, but they're not educated hockey fans. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because I'm not educated soccer guy. I love it, or basketball or whatever, but I love watching it. But in this, it is a grind to win the WHL championship, let alone the Memorial Cup. Like, we see our teams go to the Mem Cup now after getting, pounding each other. It's just so hard. So these managers know, and the smart managers in the league, and there's a number of them. Priestner's really young, right? He comes from a car background, a tennis guy, but he's learning. We don't have it. But you got Jason Ripplinger down the road in Moose Jaw. Al Miller here in Regina, very savvy. Curtis Hunt, just savvy guys. you know that you can't go 2 or 3 rounds, let alone 4. So then you restock and you rejig it. I think Brandon was good at that for a lot of years as well, and what they did there. So is Saskatoon, yeah, some people are going to lose their mind over it. They'll be okay. They're good at marketing. The thing about like like you said, Keener, the draft picks that are being thrown around here, and as a guy that's got a son playing with a lot of the kids that are going to get drafted this year. And I'm like, well, yeah, well, maybe now that pick, who knows? That could be you. That could be you. That could be you. It's changed so much. So you mentioned you think PG is going to throw their hat in. Said, like, what does Spokane do?
They're talking to their general manager, Matt Bardsley. He says they're in the market for a forward or a D. They're still a young hockey club, but they have Berkeley Catton, who we just watched, play really well for Canada. They are in this landscape, guys. Things have changed big time with NCAA. You may think that you're getting, your best 19-year-olds back next year, and all of a sudden that might not happen. Your 20-year-olds, the guys you hang your hat on, they think they're coming back. There is a very much a win now mentality in the league. If you think you have enough to put together a solid roster with some additions, we're doing it. And that's why we're seeing a ton of buyers. Prince George, Tri-City, the Everett Silvertips, #1 in the WHL right now. It goes on and on. Victoria just made a couple of big buys on their forwards up front. So it is going to be a real interesting time here before next Thursday.
Yeah, if you missed it, Brandon Lazowski goes from Saskatoon. Kenton Iso guy goes from Wenatchee. So 2 big ads for James Patrick there. Who do you like in the BC division? Obviously, when we talk about what's going on in the U.S., Spokane's right there, and you've got a mix. But can Victoria make a bit of a push there right now? Like, are they almost the ones to circle with Prince George?
Talking to someone in Prince George yesterday, they were like, well, now does this make Victoria the division favorite? I wouldn't go that far. We're still going to see Mark Lamb pull a couple of moves. Here's a name for you for Mark Lamb, potentially. Shaunavon, Saskatchewan's Callan Lind in Red Deer. There is a lot of talk how they're looking at a mutual parting of the ways. Callan wants an opportunity to, maybe go elsewhere. Red Deer's trying to recoup. They don't have a first-round pick this year. That could be a name. Mark Lamb, Southwest Saskatchewan. Callan Lind, I could see something like that happening. But yeah, I will see Prince George make a move. There's 3 big fish defenseman-wise. They want one of them. I think they'll get one of them here before the deadline.
Man, Shaunavon used to have an awesome pool party in the summer. I forget what it was called. It was classic.
CJSN, or what was it there?
Yeah, CJSN was buzzing there for sure. Speakers were out.
You did Trader Time live from the pool party.
Yeah, and funeral announcements as well.
Oh yes, that's right. That's right.
What we were joking earlier. Like Swift hosts Medicine Hat tonight. Hopefully big crowd in Swift. It's freezing cold here, as I started at the top of the hour before our top 6 at 6. But that getting to the broadcast booth in Swift Current, like this isn't offensive to anybody, but if you're not capable to walk, like what do they do there? Like that, it seems pretty archaic. It seems pretty crazy in this day and age that they're still rolling with that, Keener.
Yeah, I mean, they've looked at different options to get rid of it. But you know what? That was like my first real play-by-play gig. I won't count like Major Midget as play-by-play, but they've looked at other options. I mean, that for me was just like, I'll climb that ladder if that's what it takes to, broadcast in the WHL. Like, I mean, Munzie, you were in Prince Albert forever, so you know that ladder well too. And
we had stairs there.
But it's not the you did have stairs, but it was a tight. If you're a little thicker, you had to kind of shimmy sideways. But the biggest thing up there, Munzie, is not the stairs. It's when you get up there, there's the low beam, and countless fellas have knocked their noggin on that low beam and have been out day to day for a while. It's troublesome up there.
It is. I still think one of the best stories still is when Rod Peterson was the voice of the Pats. In the playoffs, Regina, Swift Current are playing, and as we all know, Rod likes to push people's buttons, and plastered the whole side of the broadcast booth with Vaseline. So all the Bronco fans, when the Broncos score, they're hammering away on the side of the booth. and just got covered in Vaseline.
Yeah, there's different stories. Fans, like the broadcasters, take that pounding really personal, but it's not about them or the team. It's really fans are standing up and they're just looking for something to bang on. It's like, used to go to the senior hockey games and lean over and pound on the boards. Like, that was a tradition. Speaking of, you can gamble on Saskatchewan senior hockey now. Like,
I was going to bring that up too.
What do you want tonight? What do you want in the Long Lake League tonight, fellas? Let me give you a little sprinkled taste.
The only gambling I remember in the Long Lake Hockey League when I was a kid is when you'd buy like one of those $5 squares, and then you check the score at the end of the period, and like, Lanigan 2, Drake 1, Agnes just won $10. You know those squares, right? Oh, like that's the gambling that I remember though. So checking the score at the end of the period to see if you won $10 for the way home.
And now every team has those. Every minor, my kids' teams have them. The squares. Yeah, no, that was the original senior hockey gambling. Yeah, they got Cool Bets got Long Lake and Big Six so far. Like, it's got to be so hard to handicap it. But tonight, I don't even know if someone held a gun to your head, Keener, as just a guy that bleeds Lanigan Pirate green and yellow and black and Shannon Brisky jersey still hanging in your garage. Watrous is in Drake, and Drake's a 2 point. Drake's a 2. They got the 2-goal favorite going. Like, who would you have to take if you had to take?
First of all, I'll need to know who's coming off the night shift. Okay, so who's going to be late and miss the first period?
Valid.
I mean,
Very
that's
valid.
a factor, right? Like, that needs to be worked into the line. Who is also going on to night shift and can only play the first period and tries to take a guy with them. Like sometimes if you're on the night shift and you got to go, you're trying to take a guy with you, right? So you're trying to like get in a scrap at the end of the period. So you got to be aware of some of these lines that you wouldn't normally know.
You're talking about the mine. Guys working at the mine, right?
Of course,
for people that aren't educated.
Yeah, they all, there's a couple mines now, right? Yeah, there's the Lanigan one, the Jansen one, the Guernsey out there. So yeah, it's if whoever's setting this line, he better know what he's doing, because he needs to maybe check the old PCS or whatever they call that mine now. The night shift schedule for sure.
Wadina's in Foam Lake. Foam Lake is the number 1 team in the province as per the Monday Nooner podcast. And Foam Lake -4.5, -128 on that one. So if you want to get really kinky on that, that'd be something to do. And you never know. The other thing too, is it a steak night? What's going on? Yeah. What's going on at the tavern after? Are we all sticking around? Guys want to get out of town, get back home quick.
How are the roads? Because maybe your imports from Saskatoon can't make it out. So like, these are all really important things.
It's cold here today.
You know what's the cool thing, Keener? Everybody would talk to you and I about our Western League stops or wherever we've been, but I think some of the fondest memories are still when you go to those small town Saskatchewan rinks. Like, I would remember going into Watrous and going into Lanigan, doing the game, and you're setting up your broadcast equipment either above a penalty box or in some little storage room right at the end of the arena, and you're looking through glass and you're trying to get a microphone out there for a bit of crowd mic. Like, to me, that was just Canadiana at its best.
Yeah, and I missed that. I never worked out of Humboldt or Melfort, and I know that they did a ton of those games.
Those were maybe one day games.
I would love to come back and maybe get that opportunity to do it one day. We'll see. But that's I could smell the burgers, and I could smell the propane from the Zamboni or the ice resurfacer going around right now.
Best rink burger that you guys remember. First off to you, Keener.
Kyle's, they advertise it the best rink burger in Saskatchewan.
North Battleford, like Battleford or North Battleford?
North Battleford, the old Civic Center, had the best burger and fries.
Ran a good puck there.
This is, as we look at the calendar, it's 2025. That was 1995 to 2000. So unless they're using the same grease, it's probably not as good.
Okay, so tonight you said calling the game, Kelowna Rockets, possible couple of bodies could be moved soon. out of Kelowna. Like the next 3-4 days here, you're expecting lots of stuff to happen, John?
Yeah, that basically, the teams with the big pieces are just waiting to see who sets the market here. What big trade will come down first and really set the price tag for the rest of the big moves? Like, there is 5 to 6 major moves still out there to happen. It's probably going to go right down to the deadline. Colin Priestner wants top dollar for his guys, and right now teams are saying no, that's too much. So eventually it'll be 7 to 8 pieces probably for these top players. We'll see who pays the price here before Thursday.
He is the voice of the Kamloops Blazers, also the host of the WHL radio show and the Blaze as well. You can find him, Jon Keen, NL Sports, on Twitter from Lanigan, Saskatchewan. Proud Laniganian. Is that what they called? What are they called there?
I wish I got back more. To be honest with you.
Yeah. What's the temperature there today?
Well, I just had time for the front 9 today, so I think it's about 12 or 13 degrees. No,
What a
joking. Joking.
Wow.
I think it's minus 1 or 0 or something.
Awesome. Okay, have a good call tonight. Thanks a lot, Keener.
Guys, great chat. Have a great weekend. Thanks.
See you, bud.
Yeah.
Take care.
Yeah, Jon Keen. Always a pleasure to talk to him, get some insight around the league, who's doing what.